In the modern world, we're constantly warned about the obvious destroyers of men. We're told to fear the hollow dopamine hits of pornography, to be wary of the soul-numbing scroll of social media, and to guard against the empty pursuit of validation from people who don't matter. We're conditioned to see these as the great enemies of our time. So we rally our willpower, set up blockers, and declare war on these external demons, believing that if we can just conquer them, we'll find peace, strength, and purpose. But what if this entire war is just a diversion? What if the most devastating threat isn't on a screen, isn't a substance, and isn't an external vice at all? What if the most dangerous enemy is a silent poison you carry inside you every single day? A force that operates in the shadows of your own mind, quietly architecting your failures, corroding your relationships, and ensuring you live as a ghost of the man you were born to be. A century ago, the brilliant Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung, a man who dared to map the deepest territories of the human soul, identified a psychological trap he believed corrodes a man's spirit with far more certainty than any fleeting vice. He warned that the true, ultimate enemy is the part of yourself you refuse to see. A repressed, disowned, and unacknowledged shadow that, when left to fester in the dark, doesn't just harm you, it hollows you out from the inside until nothing of substance remains. This is the story of that enemy. This isn't a conversation about moderating the usual suspects. This is a conversation about survival against a force that's infinitely more cunning because, well, it wears your own face. Jung didn't just study the mind. He issued a stark warning that has become more urgent today than ever before. The refusal to confront this inner darkness, this shadow, is what truly destroys men. It's a slow erosion, a quiet, daily swallowing of what you really feel and who you really are, until one day you just disappear. You're still breathing, still showing up to work, still walking the earth, but you're gone. This is the silent epidemic behind male apathy, addiction, and the profound disconnection so many feel, but so few can name. It's the illusion that the battle is out there, when the final war is, and always has been, within. Think about the paradox of the modern man. By almost any historical measure, he's freer than any of his ancestors. He has more information, more opportunity, and more comfort than kings of old could have ever dreamed of. He can connect with anyone, learn any skill, pursue almost any path. And yet, in the middle of all this freedom, there's a gnawing sense of being trapped. An invisible cage seems to surround him, built not from iron bars, but from anxiety, procrastination, and a deep, unsettling feeling of being an imposter in his own life. This is the first sign that the shadow is at work. It's the quiet saboteur. Think of the man who, by all outside metrics, is a success. He's got the respectable job, the stable relationship, all the symbols of a life well lived. Yet, when the noise of the day fades, in the quiet moments before sleep, a profound emptiness washes over him. A voice whispers, "Is this it?" This feeling isn't ingratitude. It's a symptom of a starved soul, a soul forced to live a life that's only half real because the other, darker half has been locked away. Or, think of the man who's a master of planning. He buys the journals, outlines the goals, creates the vision boards. He knows exactly what he needs to do to build the business or get in shape. But when it's time to actually do the work, a strange paralysis sets in. He'll clean his desk, organize his files, answer old emails, anything to avoid the one task that truly matters. This isn't laziness. Jung would argue this is a sophisticated, unconscious strategy of self-sabotage. The shadow, fearing the light of actual achievement and the failure that might come with it, pulls the emergency brake. It prefers the safety of the dream to the messy reality of the attempt. And what about the man who feels like a fraud? He wears a mask every single day, a carefully constructed persona designed to be agreeable, competent, and strong. He's the nice guy, the reliable worker, the unflappable leader, but the mask is getting heavier. It takes more and more energy to keep up the performance, and the fear of being exposed for who he really is becomes a constant low-grade hum of anxiety. Jung called this mask the persona. He taught that identifying too much with the persona, at the expense of your whole true self, is a recipe for psychological breakdown. The more perfect the mask, the more monstrous the shadow behind it grows. This internal conflict, this invisible cage, really, it's the primary feeding ground of the unacknowledged shadow. It's a war being waged in the unconscious. And the conscious man, well, he only feels the fallout, the random anxiety, the chronic procrastination, that constant feeling of being stuck. He blames his job, his partner, the world. He looks for another solution, out there, a new diet, a new productivity hack, never realizing that the architect of his prison is, well, an inseparable part of him. To defeat an enemy, you have to know its name. You have to understand its nature and its methods. The enemy, orchestrating all this internal sabotage, is what Carl Jung called the shadow. The shadow is, in essence, the disowned self. It's the psychological bag we stuff with every part of our personality we think is unacceptable, inferior, or shameful. From our earliest days, we learn that some parts of us are good, and others are bad. We get rewarded for being quiet and polite. We get punished for being angry, selfish, or defiant. To survive and be accepted by our family, teachers, and society, we perform a kind of psychic surgery on ourselves. We cut off the unacceptable parts and hide them in the dark, hoping they'll just disappear. But they don't disappear. They gather in the unconscious and form an energetic, independent part of our psyche, the shadow. And the more we deny it, the blacker and denser it becomes. Now, a crucial mistake is thinking the shadow is purely evil. It isn't. It's simply what's been rejected. And sometimes we reject not just negative impulses, but vital, powerful, and positive traits. Jung called this the golden shadow. This is the gold we've thrown out with the trash. Imagine a boy who's naturally assertive, ambitious, and loud. He's told he's too much, too arrogant. To win his parents' approval, he learns to suppress these qualities. He becomes a quiet, agreeable young man. He's praised for being a nice guy, but in the process he's exiled his assertiveness into the shadow. As an adult, he can't stand up for himself. He can't set boundaries. He seethes with resentment when people take advantage of him, but he feels powerless to stop it. His niceness isn't a real choice. It's a limitation born of repression. His vital masculine energy, his healthy aggression, lies dormant and locked away in his golden shadow. Then there's the more familiar, dark shadow. This is where our primitive instincts live. Our rage, our envy, our greed, our laziness. These are the parts that conflict with our civilized self-image. We want to see a good, noble person in the mirror, and these darker impulses threaten that picture. So we deny them with all our might. We say, "I'm not an angry person," or "I'm not jealous." According to Jung, this denial is the most dangerous thing a person can do. To say, "I am not that," is to guarantee that that will one day control you from behind the scenes. Jung famously said, "I would rather be whole than good." He didn't mean this as a free pass for bad behavior. He meant that a man who acknowledges his own capacity for darkness, who has looked his own evil in the eye and consciously chooses not to act on it, is a truly good man. His goodness is a choice, not a fragile state of denial. The man who pretends his darkness doesn't exist, however, is a ticking time bomb. He's not good. He's just unconscious, and therefore dangerous. Everyone carries a shadow. There are no exceptions. And Well, the process of repressing it isn't a personal failure at all. It's a completely normal part of growing up. The real failure, the psychological crime, is the lifelong refusal to acknowledge it. Because, you see, it's in that refusal that the shadow gets its true destructive power. Once the shadow is disowned, it doesn't just sit quietly in the basement of your mind, does it? Oh no, it actively seeks the light. And since it can't get out through your conscious personality, well, it finds another way. Projection. Projection, then, is this unconscious habit of seeing your own unwanted traits in other people. Think about it. When you can't see a quality in yourself, your mind makes sure you see it everywhere else, doesn't it? The world just becomes a movie screen, and your shadow? It's the projector. As Carl Jung himself put it, we are fooled by all the illusions that arise when he sees everything that he is not conscious of in himself coming to meet him from outside as projections upon his neighbor. Now, the real sign of a projection isn't just simple observation, not at all. It's a strong, often out of proportion, emotional reaction. You know that intense irritation or moral outrage you feel about someone else's behavior? Well, that's the key. That's your psyche's neon sign, pointing directly at a piece of your very own shadow. So let's look at how this all plays out. Consider the overly critical man. At work, he's known for his impossibly high standards. He sees laziness and incompetence everywhere. A minor mistake from a colleague? It's met with a lecture. A coworker's success is met with a cynical remark. He complains endlessly about the idiots he's surrounded by, seeing himself, of course, as a bastion of excellence. But a Jungian look, well, it reveals a completely different story. This man is likely terrified of his own inadequacy. Deep in his shadow, there's a fear that he's the real fraud. Just one mistake away from being exposed, you know? So unable to face this in himself, he projects it. He hunts for incompetence in others because, well, it gives him a temporary break from that inner voice, the one telling him he's the incompetent one. He can't figure out why he's surrounded by idiots, never realizing, of course, he's actually living in a hall of his own mirrors. Then there's the man with the savior complex. He seems to be a magnet for broken partners, people struggling with addiction, instability, or chaos. He pours all his energy into fixing them, and he gets a sense of purpose from being the strong one, the rescuer. But, through the lens of projection, his motives get a little murky. It's possible this man has repressed his own deep-seated vulnerability. The idea of being helpless is so unacceptable to his self-image that he's just buried it deep in his shadow. He can't ask for help or admit his own brokenness. So he unconsciously seeks out partners who will carry his brokenness for him. By fixing them, he's symbolically trying to heal a disowned part of himself. The relationship isn't a real partnership. It's more a way for him to manage his own shadow through someone else. And maybe the most common projection is irrational annoyance. Think of that public figure you despise with a passion that feels personal, or that acquaintance whose very presence sets your teeth on edge. Why such a powerful reaction? Simple disagreement doesn't generate that kind of energy. Jung would say the intensity of your irritation is the clue. That person has become a hook for a piece of your shadow. Maybe they show an arrogance you secretly wish you had the confidence to express. Or maybe they show a vulnerability you've rejected in yourself. Your hatred isn't truly for them. It's for the reflection of your disowned self that they show you. When a man stays blind to his projections, his life becomes a minefield of conflict and resentment. He feels like a victim, never grasping that the hostility originates within him. This is how the shadow doesn't just poison the man, it poisons his entire world. If projection is the shadow leaking through the cracks, then possession is the shadow kicking down the door and taking over the house. This is the most dangerous manifestation of a repressed shadow, and it's where a man's life can be completely destroyed. Jung used the term possessed when the conscious ego is totally overwhelmed by an unconscious complex, usually the shadow. The repressed energy builds up so much pressure that it erupts with volcanic force. In these moments, the man doesn't act from his shadow. He becomes his shadow. He does and says things that are completely alien to his conscious personality. Afterwards, he's often left bewildered and ashamed, saying, "I don't know what came over me. That wasn't me." Jung would say, "Oh, but it was. It was the part of you that you've spent your entire life pretending doesn't exist." Consider the man of unshakable calm. He prides himself on his rationality. He never raises his voice. His family sees him as a rock. But he's achieved this calm, not by integrating his anger, but by brutally suppressing it. Then one day, over something tiny, a driver cutting him off, his kids spilling milk, the dungeon door shatters. An uncontrollable, terrifying rage erupts. The polite, rational man is gone, and in his place stands a primitive, snarling beast. This is a shadow possession. It's the accumulated rage of a lifetime, denied a voice, finally taking one by force. Or think of the disciplined family man. He's the epitome of responsibility, a pillar of his community. He's built his entire identity around being a good man. But in his shadow lurks everything he's denied himself: chaos, irresponsibility, pleasure. One day, on a business trip, he has a one-night stand, or he develops a secret gambling addiction. These actions seem to come from nowhere and threaten to demolish his entire life. This isn't just a simple moral failing. It's the shadow, crying out for life. After years of being starved in the name of responsibility, it demands to be experienced. The vice is just the vehicle. It's a destructive attempt by the psyche to balance itself, to break free from the one-sided tyranny of the ego. This is why the unintegrated shadow is a greater threat than a simple vice. A full-blown shadow possession is a psychic earthquake. It's the moment the internal saboteur decides that if it can't be part of the kingdom, it will burn the whole thing to the ground. This can also manifest as sudden, crippling depression or anxiety. The man whose life is perfect on paper suddenly can't get out of bed, consumed by a nameless dread. This is often the psyche's last-ditch effort to get his attention. It's a forced shutdown, essentially saying, "The way you're living is a lie. This one-sided life is killing your soul, and I won't let it continue. We will stay here, in this darkness, until you finally turn around and face me." So if that's the problem, what's the solution? It's what Jung called integration. This is the core of his work and his vision for a whole life. It's the journey of becoming a complete individual, by unifying the conscious and the unconscious. Now, here's the thing about integration. It's not about elimination. You can never destroy your shadow, nor should you want to. The goal isn't to become a figure of pure light. That's the illusion that created the problem. The goal is to make the darkness conscious. To turn and face the disowned parts of yourself, bring them into the light of awareness, and integrate their energy into your life. As Jung famously said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This path isn't a list of quick fixes. It's a courageous, often painful, and lifelong commitment. It's the hero's journey, and the dragon you have to face is yourself. Here's how you start. The journey begins with a single, momentous decision to stop lying to yourself. It's the commitment to look in the mirror and acknowledge everything that's there, not just what you want to be there. It means accepting you're capable of envy, rage, and selfishness. Just saying, "Yes, that ugly part is in me too," is the first, most critical step. From now on, your emotions are a roadmap to your shadow. Every time you feel a flash of intense anger, envy, or irritation, you have to learn to pause. Instead of blaming whoever triggered you, Ask the terrifying inward question, what part of my own shadow is being activated right now? That person who just infuriated you isn't your enemy. They're your teacher, a messenger from your unconscious. 22. Alright, point number 3. Meticulously study your projections. You have to take back the pieces of yourself that you've scattered onto others. Make a list of the qualities in people that trigger the strongest negative reactions in you. Then, with brutal honesty, ask yourself this: where do I do this? Maybe in a more subtle way. Then, do the same for the people you admire excessively. The qualities you worship in others, well, those are often the gold in your own shadow, the potential you haven't claimed yet. And then, point number 4. Engage with your inner world. Your dreams are nightly letters from your shadow, revealing the parts of you that are being neglected. Pay attention to recurring figures, especially the ones that scare or threaten you. Jung's technique of active imagination involves sitting down, getting into a meditative state, and actually inviting these figures to have a dialogue. Ask the monster from your dream, what do you want? What do you represent? By giving these parts a voice, you can transform them from enemies into allies. This isn't just about owning your darkness. It's about reclaiming your lost power. If you were the nice guy who suppressed his assertiveness, start by setting one small boundary. Say no to a request. State an unpopular opinion. Feel the anxiety that comes up and just sit with it. You're reteaching your nervous system that this energy isn't dangerous. If you were taught that creativity was a waste of time, schedule 1 hour a week to draw or write. No matter how good you are, you're giving your creative shadow a seat at the table. This work is the opposite of easy. But on the other side of this difficult journey lies the greatest reward a man can achieve: wholeness. The man who dares to walk this path is transformed. He's not a perfect man, free from flaws. He's a whole man. He has traded the brittle illusion of perfection for the unbreakable strength of authenticity. He is not a nice guy anymore. He is a good man. And there is a world of difference. The nice guy is harmless because he's suppressed his capacity for aggression. The good man has integrated his aggression. He knows he's capable of being dangerous, but he makes the conscious moral choice not to be. His kindness is therefore genuine and powerful, not a symptom of fear. He has a quiet, grounded confidence that comes from accepting every part of himself. He no longer needs validation from the outside, because he has validated himself. His relationships are deeper. He no longer pollutes his connections with projections. He can see his partner, his children, and his colleagues for who they truly are, not as screens for his own baggage. He can experience true intimacy because he's no longer hiding from himself. And he has access to a huge reserve of energy and vitality. The anger he once repressed becomes fuel for disciplined action. The creativity he once denied becomes a source of innovation and joy. He doesn't walk through life afraid of what lurks in his own depths. He has been to the depths. He has met the dragon, and he has returned with the treasure. And that treasure is his own whole and undivided self. He has realized that the greatest danger was never the lure of pornography or any other external distraction. The greatest danger was refusing to take this sacred inner journey, the refusal to become who he was truly meant to be. This journey into the self is the most important one a man can ever take. It's the foundation of true strength, purpose, and inner peace. If this exploration of the human psyche resonates with you, subscribe for more content that dives beneath the surface. And now, a question for your own reflection. What is one quality you consistently and strongly criticize in others? Share your thoughts on this journey in the comments below. Your honesty might be the first step for another man on this path.